The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I mean, I tried to forget the blue badger as well. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Hold it. Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further. Ooh. Lana. What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. It was the blue badger. I saw that man raise his knife. Just press everything. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark? Yes. At least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is already documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you panicked and rushed towards both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock, and it's 2 years ago. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening, in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next? Another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room. I'm sure I saw his shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with his winning smile and all? That's right. I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what the shadow really was. Let's Was it? I think it may have been that. Not quite. I think it might still be the best option, is the jar. What was it Emma saw that had the light flashed? Who is this blue badger, really? I'm going to save, and I'm going to suggest the pot. I just might know. Blue badger hadn't even dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defence's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright. In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike. Okay, I'm a bit scared, but we'll go for it. The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this. But that's... What exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? Got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. I mean, I think that's pretty much right, isn't it? Because yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. This isn't right. What? Allow me to remind the defense in case its case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim. Gotta find maybe I should horizontally or vertically. I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Okay. Oh. No, I didn't mean to press that button. Oh dear. Shut up, Edgeworth. I wanted to press R and I pressed E by mistake. You don't want to see the holes. That way? Right, there we go. Is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. Even though we wish we could. No. It can't be. The blue badger. Order! Order! Let us not fear the blue badger. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that blue badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then. Please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? I want to say the murder weapon, because it's got blood on it. But we know he was killed by stab. We know he was stabbed. Because this has got blood on it. So assumably it's being kind of like swung in some way. But it's not the location because we know it was in the... we know it's that. We know that's not the murder weapon. But it's got to be the murderer. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes. Well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. Definitely hope I remember to cut that stuff out. So it looks like it's the oh wow, my throat. It looks like it's suggesting the desk was the location rather than the office. Okay. Body's found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. It's the same office, which is why I didn't put location. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? From Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. This is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf, the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. Okay, so he accidentally died and then the evidence is forged. Okay. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Wait, so all three would have been right? Different location. The murder is different because he didn't actually die. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. Don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright? What's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh dear. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that, coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about Emma, what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence, considering it's disappeared. If we don't have any evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. Certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Ooh, Edgeworth's got something. Touche, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean, the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased? Does such a message exist? I've got to think back to the court record. Alright, well... so it's going to be around here somewhere, isn't it? Oh, there we go. The real murderer's name the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? It's not murder. Right. Right, I don't know what Edgeworth's going to say, but let's be honest, it's not murder. Yes, she killed him, but she's been attacked by someone, been knocked down, seen a guy with a knife, assumed it's him, and run at him to disarm him. So, you can argue self-defense. You can argue self-defense. You can argue it's so manslaughter type, like she had no intention of killing him. It's not murder. You can argue that the actions she took were reasonable. She just wanted to disarm him. She was also, 14 at the time? So there's a lot of mitigating factors here. And it's definitely not murder. But we've discussed that before. Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. Because this is a weird pattern. Because you'd think that it would be like the splodgers, but no, it's... This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? That thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of the jar. What do you mean?